Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner, Paul Tenorio. Also joining us today, Sam Johnson from the Chicago Red Stars, and on the far end of the couch, it's getting a little crowded here, Arturo Alvarez from the Chicago Fire. Arturo, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
Now, you were around last year. We've talked about this a couple times this year on the show with some of the players that were here last year. Miserable last year. Not the team, results, things that happened. How are things different this year? How much more fun are you guys having this year?
Oh, I mean, I think you could tell, how we're doing in the standings. Trainings, day in, day out, everyone's having fun. Everyone's just, smiling, walking back to the locker room, and, just a whole bunch of banter, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, going to dive right into kind of maybe a tougher question, but with more success and more players coming in, there's more competition. And early on in the season, you start in games and you find yourself on the bench. You're waiting for that opportunity. How difficult was that? And then we've seen you, since you've come on, you've had a chance, 2 goals, 2 assists in the last few games, taking full advantage of being back out there on the field.
Yeah, no, it was tough, especially when you start the first 4 games and then next thing you know, you're not getting a lot of playing time. But at the end of the day, the team was doing well. It's hard to change a team that's winning. The only thing that I was focusing on was making sure that I was, training well and just being ready for the next opportunity. And I got it against, some of the games of the Open Cup. And then, my first start again for an MLS game was Vancouver, and I happened to play a good game. So.
Well, I mean, it's got to just, you wait for those moments. Are you telling yourself anything specifically going into those games? You don't want to be too individualistic, but you do want to show, hey, I should be on the field. And I just remember I was in St. Louis watching, and I could just see your touch was on point. Every little moment you picked out the nice passes. There was a moment you brought down a ball in under pressure, and the poor kid from St. Louis had no chance with the touch you put on him. So how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, like you said, you definitely don't want to go in there doing too much. I think if you try to go from the get-go and try to dribble or take people one-on-one and you don't succeed, then you kind of bring your confidence level down. And that's the last thing you want to be doing when you want to prove to your coach that, I've been wanting this opportunity, and I'll make sure that, seize it. So, St. Louis game was a good game, and then just kind of, slowly, getting my game rhythm in, because that's also important when you're not playing that often. You want to come in and make sure that you're game fit, and I just was out there having fun too. I was happy to be playing again, so that also helped.
There was a play that we saw when we were looking at the highlights, and it was on Brandon's goal, I think. You had the ball on the right side, and you got tripped up and went to the ground, and then the ball was caught, came back right away. I've seen other players in the sport where they go down and they might look to the referee, or you got right back up. You were part of that play. David got the ball to you. You got it to Brandon Vincent. It's the hustle that I think everybody watching the Fire this year has seen from you, from everybody, from David Account, from DeLu, everybody.
No, I think, obviously we're playing good soccer right now, but you can't forget about the hard work that you have to put in to be successful. I think that's another thing that's helped us, be at the top of the tables right now, which is, obviously playing good soccer with confidence, but at the same time, you got to work hard. In this league, in MLS, you have to work hard. If not, talent, playing well for 45, 60 minutes is not going to cut it. So you got to make sure you play the whole game. And, I think I fell, and I saw David, I knew David was going to somehow get away from his players. So I was like, maybe, I'll give him an option, and he ended up passing me the ball, and I just cut it back across to Brandon Vincent, and it went in.
With the right foot, we might add.
That's also true, yeah. I think, maybe no one was expecting that, and so they just, out of nowhere, it was a quick pass with my right foot. I'm very left-footed, but I'm glad it worked out, and I'm happy for Brandon Vincent scoring his first MLS goal.
Yeah, I had to go back on my DVR. I was like, let me double. Did Arturo just hit that one time?
It was at the outside of his left foot.
Exactly.
Well, and the other thing too is, you talk about a couple of goals he's got in the last couple of games, but the side volley, the little dance afterwards, that was everywhere. And the side volley, when a ball's coming at you like that, what makes you think, okay, I can get it on the side volley or bring it down and try to score?
I did not think about it twice. Okay. I was like, I'm hitting this first time. Those are kind of I don't know, it seemed just like a very, it was a very high ball high crossed, and I saw it coming down. I was like, I got to go for it. And, I made good contact with it, and it went to the back of the net, so.
And the dance, is that a dance you've done before?
No, I usually don't dance after scoring goals, but there's a new song by J Balvin. It's called Mi Gente, and I was listening to it on the way to the game, and I was like, listen, if I scored, I'm gonna do this dance. So, I had to keep my word.
That was good.
Do you have any dances that you break out if you're going to score?
I do not dance. I am a center back. I just tackle people, and that is my job.
Well, we were joking. We were saying we're going to make sure you give us the deets, man. You played that ball in, left-footed against Portland. Cross or shot?
Perfectly measured shot. Does that sound good or not? Nah.
I'm not going to let you get away with it.
No. It was a cross. I played with Nico before, and I know he's always making those runs to the near post. And he kind of, at first I thought he did touch it, touch the ball, but listen, it went in the back of the net, and to me, either an assist or cross, whatever, anything to put us on the board and kind of get us back into the game. So
well, we pretty much know the guy that usually sits here, Frank Lopez. He would have said, I got a foot to it.
Definitely.
No matter what
happened. No matter what.
Yeah, he would have claimed it.
You know what? That's what you got to do. Put the ball in a dangerous place, and whether Nikolic touches it or it goes in on its own, if you serve balls in like that, you're causing problems for the other team, and the end result, usually it's in the back of the net.
The Chicago Fire now unbeaten in their last 11 games. We come back. We'll talk more with Arturo Alvarez of the Chicago Fire. You're watching Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Welcome back in. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank. Fred Hubner, Paul Tenorio, the Red Stars, Sam Johnson, and also Arturo Alvarez of the Chicago Fire. Before we talk more about what you've done over the break and things like that, Michael DeLue scored a goal finally a couple weeks ago. It seems like the team had never celebrated the goal all year long as much as they celebrated that goal. What has DeLue meant to the team, and what was it like when he did score that goal?
You know what? I think that's part of just team, how together we are at the moment. In training, we're always pushing each other harder, competing in a good way. And so when DeLue scored the goal against Vancouver, we were just, actually he had a few chances in that game that we were like, all right, this guy's got to, he can't buy a goal right now. But next thing you know, he got to go, and we're all happy for him. We were all pushing for him. It's tough, it's tough, to see a guy, put in the work, day in and day out, and then being so close so many times, and the ball's just not going in. But I think we all know here, that soccer for you sometimes doesn't want to go in for you, but he got his monkey off the back. So.
Yeah. Well, we were talking in the break about the break that you're in right now, and you had a chance to get away from soccer a little bit, and I think you hung around Chicago and explored the festivals that happen in the summer, yeah?
Yeah, I did. Didn't go anywhere. Stayed in Chicago. Got to know the city a little bit better. Been here since last year, and Chicago's such a great city, especially in the summer. So yeah, happy to be back training though. Today was the first training back from our little break, and as much as you want to get away from soccer, then you have the Gold Cup, and so you're obviously catching some of those games. And I'm always staying on top of how El Salvador is doing. So I saw a few of the games, but
I was going to ask. I mean, the Salvadoran Federation has been going through some interesting times, and we've seen them come to this Gold Cup with a younger group. What's your impression of this team and where the Salvadoran national team is headed?
Yeah, it's a younger team. I think there's still a lot of work to do with the Salvadorian soccer, with the federation side, the players, the development, and everything. So it's going to take some time, and I really wish that it could happen sooner. But listen, El Salvadorian, they love their football, they love their soccer, and I really hope that the national team will be a strong team in the near future.
Speaking of the national team, Dax McCarty get his shot the first couple of games, the Ghana game and then also the first game. What do you think about Dax's play? And he's playing with Colin Acosta. There's nice little pairing there. But what do you think? How do you think Dax is doing?
You know what? Dax has been great ever since he came to Chicago. We knew what kind of player that we were getting. That game against Panama was obviously a tough game for the national team. You know, tough conditions, good, you know, good opponent. And so, you know, we obviously wanted the U.S. to win the game. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But, you know, Dax is, you know exactly what you're going to get from Dax. You know, and so hopefully he can continue doing the, you know, all the good stuff that he's been doing here, translate it over to the national team and get more starts.
Speaking of Dax, you were teammates with him back in the day in Dallas, and your first go-round in MLS. You left for a while, came back into the league. What are the biggest differences you've seen coming back into Major League Soccer from your first stint in the league?
Oh man, a lot of things. You know, I got drafted by the Earthquakes back in '03, and I think at that point there was only 12 teams or something like that. So, you know, I think the biggest thing and it's made me kind of proud is how MLS is now known around the world. You know, I was in Europe the last 4 years, and I was watching live games in Hungary, which you would have never thought that would happen, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And, you know, the league is, you know, the level is getting better each year, more marketing, you know, the name is out there, and, you know, that's always good for not only the sport, but, you know, U.S. soccer in general.
When you started, you were, what, 17 years old? 17,
yeah.
Dom Kinnear drafted you.
Frank.
Oh, Frank drafted
Frank
you.
Yallop did,
Frank
yeah.
Yallop drafted you.
Dominic Kinnear was the assistant at that
okay,
time.
perfect.
Yeah.
So you come in as a teenager, and you're part of those San Jose teams early on that had a lot of success. What do you remember? I mean, coming in as a pro that young, what would you tell yourself now, looking back on how to be a pro as a teenager?
You know what? I think I got lucky, to be honest. I think I couldn't have gone to a better team, surrounded by obviously some stars and some experienced players, and I just learned so much as a 17-year-old. You know, Frank, you know, is definitely a guy that was always on top of you, wanted to know how you are, not only you know how you're doing in soccer, but outside of soccer, which is great, I think. And then, you know, I got to play alongside the likes of Landon Donovan and Jeff Agus and, you know, Dwayne De Rosario, Brian Ching. You know, all these guys were just kind of getting started too. So, you know, I think, you know, I kind of, you know, all the young kids that are coming into the league now, for example, you know, here at the, you know, with the Chicago Fire, I pretty much just, you know, try to help them out in every which way that I was helped back then. So you kind of, you know, you have to.
So when this break is over, Fire return to action. You got an 11-game unbeaten streak. You go to New York, to Yankee Stadium, NYCFC. What's it like playing at that place? What adjustments do teams have to make when they play there?
You know, it's a smaller field. You definitely have to, you know, take into account that, you know, it's a smaller field, you know, and you know, NYCFC is good at home. They're strong at home. We know it's going to be a tough game, just like the Portland game was, you know, a week ago. And so, you know, I think, you know, we just have to make sure that we prepare for it the same way we've been doing all season, and, you know, with the same confidence, and obviously go in there to get 3 points.
Best of luck. It's been fun watching so far. All the Fire fans just hoping for much more success in the second half. Thanks.
Thank you for having me, and you know, we're hoping we continue the same way we've been doing. So.
Arturo Alvarez from the Chicago Fire, nice enough to join us here. Chicago Fire Weekly. We come back, we'll take a look at the Gold Cup, which is going on. The USA with a match tonight. They need to get a victory in. Yes, I said that. Chicago Fire Weekly, presented by the Private Bank.